Speaker. As is often reflected in this place, we are compelled to consider a range of issues that, for people that are affected by them, very important. It may not necessarily garner wide interest, but the people that are touched by the laws that we pass in this place, they feel very strongly. But there are a few. There is a slice of lawmaking that is in a realm all of its own. And in this instance, where it combines matters relating to national security and one other item, I believe demand national attention, but also deep consideration by every single person in this place. National security, twinned with economic security, demands that we ensure that we are fully aware of the impact, potential consequences of the laws that we will put in place. And in terms of the matters before us under this legislation, it has been flagged for some time in the Australian jurisdiction that we would attempt to do something that had eluded our friends in other parts of the world with more resources, more brains, more capability. This is not disparaging our own strengths and abilities, but if you look in parts of the world like the United Kingdom that had spent an extraordinary amount of time looking at the matters that are at the heart of this bill, they not only took their time in how they would address this, but they also recognised the immense challenges in being able to do what the Home Affairs Minister reckons he was able to do with a snap of fingers, which is to deal, to interfere, to manipulate something as complicated as encryption in an easy way. Well, you can pretend that you can do that, but the reality is something completely different. And while we had a former Prime Minister say that while the laws of mathematics are one thing, the laws of Australia are something else, the reality is the laws of mathematics apply across the entire globe, and there's nothing inherently Australian about our ability to defy those laws. The whole thing about encryption and the big worry that a number of people have expressed about this is, if I can put it this way, what has been attempted is feeling in some way, shape or form that you can make a tiny cut in the mozzie net and that you won't get bit. The reality is that people have been deeply concerned that if you do weaken encryption in any particular way, that it will longer term be watched by people who want to cause harm and will do it. There is absolutely no walking away from the fact, and I think there is a lot of joined views in this place, that we do need to absolutely target those who want to cause harm. Terrorists, pedophiles, those who want to undertake at a major scale things that are completely, inconceivably not are beyond the pale, and we need to be able to deal with it. Absolutely. But in tackling the people that want to cause harm, we don't want to inadvertently do harm ourselves. So this is a process that needs to be given thought as to how to best architect an arrangement that would allow us to achieve it. There are a lot of us in this place, I suspect there are some on the other side as well, that have recognised the challenge in doing this and have been troubled by what's been proposed. And the regimes that have been put forward by the government that have been the subject of deep examination by the Parliamentary Joint Committee on Intelligence and Surveillance, and a number of my colleagues have singled out, in particular on our side, the people that have been able to make a very meaningful impact in that committee process. And I do want to recognise, especially, it's been recognised the work of the Shadow Attorney-General and the Shadow Foreign Minister, which we're very grateful for, but also my friend Senator Jenny McAllister, the member for Eden Monaro, Mike Kelly, and the member for Holt, Anthony Byrne. And I especially want to single out the last two who have been open to members of parliament talking with them about the issues at the heart of this bill and working through our concerns with them. And they have, I have to say, given me a greater degree of comfort about what's being proposed. But having said that, some of the interventions of the member for Melbourne, who I do get on with, but I deeply disagree with in this, is some belief that on the opposition side we think that this entire matter has been resolved to our satisfaction. It hasn't. We do have concerns still with what's being proposed. What we are trying to achieve is be able to give the tools to the security agencies to allow them to do their work, but to subject the type of proposals the government's put forward to ongoing review. Now, bear in mind, I was one of the few people in this place to stand at this spot and argue against the arrangements on metadata, because at that point in time I was deeply concerned and still maintain the belief that the powers that were granted through that process would potentially be abused with little oversight and corrective ability. And what's happened in the meantime? We've discovered 350,000 applications for metadata, including from local councils. Why local councils would want my metadata, I don't know if they're checking up on the contents of my recycling bin, that I may have caused some sort of offence triggering a need for metadata, but a lot of people who thought, they were told, that were said, we need this metadata for national security, but find out local councils have access to metadata in 350,000 requests where we were told that there would be a narrow group of people, agencies, departments that would have access to it, is astounding. So the concern that we have, a number of us have, is that when the government puts this legislation forward, what are the oversight arrangements? Because I have to say, and I do acknowledge the nous and capability of the Attorney-General. He's been much more adroit at dealing with this matter than predecessors who would have gone on afternoon Sky News and found themselves in all sorts of tangles describing metadata with tortured analogies involving the Postal Service. You've been a very good Attorney-General. I mean, when this Attorney-General was asked what type of circumstances would the legislation that a lot of people have interest in, what type of circumstances to give people comfort and understanding about what's going on, he's a clever boy. He said, "Oh well, I can't possibly go through those examples because I've been told that it's not appropriate for me to do so." Very handy, but I've got to say, not very helpful. Reason being is, with a controversial piece of legislation like this, having examples that you can walk the public through and build assurance is important, Attorney-General. And I do think people want to know the type of circumstances in which these laws are being used and the protections in place. Because I've got to say, longer term, if we do want to work with arrangements like the Cloud Act, the type of judicial oversight offered in this process is tissue tough. I don't think cuts the grade of what people would expect. People would want a specialist judge backed with a team of people that can assess warrants, applications made to gain access under the TCN arrangement. They would want to know that people capable of making judgments on applications can do so. Now, I've been told privately I'm being a bit too tough about the notion that a retired judge is the best person to make those decisions. I personally have deep reservations about it. I think we do need to have a much stronger form of judicial oversight. And I'm not going to get lectured to by people opposite who don't necessarily take the time to care about technology. In fact, if they had the ability to work a remote control on the TV, that's a great day in tech for them. But on this, they want to tell us it's not offensive, it's a genuine reflection, member, because it's offensive. They can tell decorated people who've served for our country, who are members of parliament here, we can have them disparage people who've served in Iraq, Somalia, Bosnia, Timor, or who have served in other capacities, they can disparage them and their service to the country, saying that they're trying to help terrorists by raising legitimate questions about this law, but the minute you tease them about their capacity to operate a remote control, they get in a huff. I mean, it tells you everything about the way those people have approached this and are absolutely, as some have interjected, while I won't characterise it that way, I do endorse what the interjections have said. Because this, we need to be, as I said, involves economic security. Encryption is a legitimate pathway used by businesses to carry data securely that involves sensitive material about individuals, be it health records, be it financial status and wealth, the transaction by commercial operations legitimately to use those platforms to conduct their business, and for us as consumers and the members of the public to know that's done. So anything that is being put forward by those opposite that would impact on that needs to be considered carefully. And the warrants process is an important mechanism to ensure that when people make the application through agencies, that someone capable can make the decision on them. And the arrangements that have been put forward by the government, I believe, are only interim ones. And the reason I say that is because longer term, judicial warrants and oversight will be critical. The second thing I think will be important is parliamentary oversight. The committees that we have done a terrific job in oversighting this legislation, but they should also be empowered far greater to look at the way in which laws that are passed by this body are actually implemented and operate. We have very little in the way of future reform of the parliamentary oversight committees to give them the same capabilities as those that exist in the UK and US with our allies to ensure that these type of things that are being proposed now are being dealt with properly. We need to have better arrangements there. And in the third area that I think we need to do is to have a clarity about the reporting on this. We will want to know how many times, if I may through you, Chair, Deputy Chair, to the Attorney-General, I would be very grateful in your reply to the contributions today if you can outline the kind of reporting arrangements that let the public know how many times the orders or the arrangements have been accessed over a defined period of time, and also the numbers of people that are affected by those orders. And with the greatest respect, Attorney-General, I think that there would be people in the public that would want to know what arrangements are in that. Okay? So, as I said, I think the oversight arrangements are important, and there are a lot of people in this place that believe longer term that we do need to have those mechanisms in place to give comfort. Again, there are a lot of us that are deeply concerned about this, and there have been some reflections made about the views of people in the tech community who rightly raise and should not be dismissed as extreme libertarians, but have rightly raised what impact this has on the local tech sector if they are trying to ensure that the tech sector is able to flourish in this place and have confidence, because it's in an interconnected community with other parts of the world, that the work that they do here isn't questioned, that the quality of the work that they do isn't questioned because of the legal arrangements put in by the government. And there has been quite a few, I note online, views that have been raised about whether or not this will put at a great disadvantage the local digital economy relative to others. Others have questioned whether or not simple geo-blocking arrangements by a lot of the type of platforms that have been raised will see us not have access to some of the apps that have been mentioned in the course of the debate, because organisations do not want to be subject to a penalty regime as envisaged by the Act, which is important as well. So again, we see this, and this is not the end of the debate, and I would want to emphasise to people that are listening to this and following this debate outside this place, this is a subject to ongoing review, and it is also subject to the commitment of parliamentarians who believe that the oversight arrangements, the judicial warrants and the way this system is accountable to others needs to be strengthened, and we certainly think longer term this is the thing that needs to happen and happen quickly.
I thank the